I think strategy is my word, definitely. I'm very passionate about delivering procurement strategy.
Why do they still see it as an operational function?
I think actually it's about the way the procurement professionals approach the procurement activities. So unless you have been through, CIPS or practitioner wise, you've been through training in terms of your approach, then strategy normally comes as part of the last bit of the conversation as opposed to the front part of the conversation.
Do you think CIPS certificate really matters?
Definitely matters. I'm a huge passionate person around procurement, and also CIPS basically is the foundations of the procurement for me as a profession. So the certification shouldn't be underestimated. I think a certificate is a certificate, but it's actually the work that you do to get that certificate. For me, I spent 2 years doing CIPS, and, it was probably one of the best things that I did. It provides not just the certificate, but it also provides the environment of all of the practical attributes that you need as a professional. My name is Jade Marjoram. I'm really passionate about people, working with people, being around people, creating cultures, environments.
Pleasure having you, Jade, with us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
What's the strangest or the most weird thing that you have ever purchased or seen your company purchase in your whole procurement career?
This is actually a good one. So probably pest control.
Pest control.
Yeah. So, lots of buildings where there's infestations of rats. So part of the job was to look at a strategy of
don't
how
want to
we
mention the company name.
procure. No. Of how we procure the, pest control services. That would probably be the most strangest one I've purchased.
Okay.
Due to the nature of it. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And
the most fascinating one would be, not strangest, calligraphy.
Yeah.
Calligraphy. So, for Freedoms of the City, it was calligraphy. And this is online, so it's fine for me to say the company.
Really? Okay.
I worked for City of London Corporation. So the Freedoms of the City, when people get freedom to work within the city. So I purchased the calligrapher. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And what's the one word that you keep repeating in all your meetings with all the stakeholders and all your team that sort of became your brand?
I think strategy is my word, definitely. And that's a buzzword.
Okay.
But I think the strategy would definitely be I'm very passionate about delivering procurement strategy. Yeah.
Is it because a lot of people still see procurement as a functional?
Yeah, they see it as a transactional service line. And actually, part of the procurement life cycle is about the strategy at the front end. And
why do they still see it as an operational function?
I think actually it's about the way the procurement professionals approach the procurement activities. So unless you have been through, CIPS or practitioner wise, you've been through training in terms of your approach, then strategy normally comes as part of the last bit of the conversation as opposed to the front part of the conversation.
Okay. And mostly due to that, a lot of leaders see procurement as a cost center.
Yeah.
Maybe. But how would you, make the procurement as a real value creator in the company? So what's your advice or what's your tactics to convince the management with the strategic rule of procurement?
So it's understanding priorities and objectives and then being able to translate them into what constitutes value. So there's a lot of talk around value for money.
Okay.
Value for money means, creating value for money for a business. It's translating the requirements into actual outputs that achieve what you need, what you want, and the outcomes.
And what makes the procurement leader successful? Is it more of soft skills or technical skills in procurement?
I think it has to be a blend, but I'd say soft skills needs to come out on top. So again, I think the real soft skill is about the way that you are with people, not managing people, but the way that you are with people. Yeah, being authentic, understanding them, giving time, investment, is really, really important. Okay. So people.
In your own team, what's the behavior that really gets you on your nerves?
I think negative behavior and, bringing others down. So not being conscious around the impact that you have on others. I think it's, the negative behavior comes with not necessarily being solution focused. And I think, that then impacts the team as part of that process. So I'd say negative behavior.
Okay. Jade, talking about the personal relationships with suppliers.
Yeah.
You see this is good and with the favor of the company, or this is a real risk?
I think there's always risk to manage in your engagements. I think it's about being ethical and professional. And you can have relationships. I mean, we are people, right? So we have connections. But I think it's about how you manage the conversations. And especially in particular, when we're talking about procurement roles, it's about having the boundary set. It's about having the process element, but able to draw upon the expertise and the knowledge base that you need to make sure that you create value in the supply chain.
Okay. And from your experience also, well, what function or what step that really wastes lots of time from your team?
I think not having clear expectations of what you need from your stakeholders. There's a lot of, I'm going to call it dancing around, but dancing around, if you're producing, a tender to go out, there's normally a lot of efficiencies that can be driven. So I'd say, not being prepared and organized in the way that you manage the procurement process.
Okay. Amazing. Do you suffer from high turnover here in procurement team in Saudi?
I think there's high turnover and then there's, competition. So I think the macro environment impacts the turnover of people and staff because there's so many opportunities, right? So, I would say there's a high turnover. I think as well, organizations, in the way we spoke about it earlier on the panel, but the way that culturally, you create the motivation and the team, environment to keep them in roles is also something that.
Okay. What's the first thing you think of is why they are leaving, or you focus more on stabilizing the current team?
I think you always have to question why somebody is leaving an organization. But then that could be a number of factors. Actually, that probably shouldn't be a surprise. So I think that then plays into the stability of the team and making sure that they are content and comfortable.
Okay.
So you have to keep your eyes on both of them. Focus should always be on stabilizing the team that are delivering and investing in the people that want to stay and grow and, succeed the business goals.
Okay. What's the thing that took you years to learn? And today, now you teach it to your team just right away.
Okay. I think patience, and I'm still, not necessarily because of my personality, but not necessarily always the most patient. But I think it's taking the time and care. And, earlier we talked about stakeholder engagement. I think the stakeholder engagement is one of the biggest things that we have to think about and how we approach those stakeholders. So learning about them, learning how to, understand their priorities, their objectives, but also as personal people.
Okay.
So building relationships.
Okay. Do you think CIPS certificate really matters, or it's just?
Definitely matters. I'm a huge passionate person around procurement, and also CIPS, basically is the foundations of the procurement for me as a profession. So the certification shouldn't be underestimated. I think a certificate is a certificate, but it's actually the work that you do to get that certificate. For me, I spent 2 years doing CIPS, and, it was probably one of the best things that I did. And I was a major geek. I enjoyed doing every single assignment. I did the corporate award scheme. I did every single assignment. I enjoyed it, every lecture. And it provides not just the certificate, but it also provides the environment of all of the practical attributes that you need as a professional.
Okay. And then what was the hardest part of your CIPS journey and how you managed that?
So I think I've always been good at practical application, but for me, actually going through the exam processes and everything, actually there's a way of writing, and there's a way of meeting those objectives. And for me, I was working and studying at the same time. So I think that was probably the biggest challenge, was balancing those two things.
And what advice would you give to someone who is just starting level 4 right now?
I think for me, it would be take the time to definitely read, learn. And also, I think one of the things that really helped me was being part of those lectures and having the practical application brought to life by the lecturers. So I would actually say if you are doing CIPS and you're starting out, to actually get a mentor or a coach within those spaces to support you with your studies.
Okay. Can you tell me about one supplier relationship that completely went wrong?
Yeah, so I think back probably 10 years, I worked as part of a very tricky contract negotiation. And in reality, the way that we needed the contract to run for the future was not necessarily aligned with their idea of the contract for the future. So we had to agree in a neutral position. And I think the conversations that went as part of that negotiations were really tough. And I'd say that actually those had an impact on the overall relationship in the end, which meant that when the contract come to an end, there wouldn't necessarily be future collaboration or partnership working. So yeah, I think that negotiation and let's call it de-scoping of that contract had a significant impact on the overall supplier relationship in the end.
Okay. When was the last time you really felt that you are out of your comfort zone?
Well, I think actually we're learning every day. So I like to think that as a professional, actually sometimes we have to get a little bit used to being uncomfortable. Being comfortable is being uncomfortable in situations. We work in very challenging environments, but I think those challenges provide opportunities. So I think every day we're always in challenging. I think probably if I can give you a specific example, probably where we have, a lot of volume in terms of procurement activities, we're trying to drive excellence at the same time as delivering on timescales. And all of those competing factors really do impact decisions that you need to make, in particular around resourcing and priorities of where to focus those efforts. So I would say at the moment it's about balancing, but those situations sometimes can feel quite uncomfortable.
Okay. Pleasure having you, Jade, with us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much.